Palestinian terrorist group Hamas has said President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital is a flagrant aggression against the Palestinian people. In a speech in Washington, Trump said his announcement marked the beginning of a new approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But Hamas, which dominates the Gaza Strip, urged Arabs and Muslims to undermine the U.S. interests in the region and to shun Israel. Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh said the Palestinian people know how to respond properly to the disregard of their feelings and sanctuaries. He added that the decision will not change the facts of history and geography. President Trump recognized the disputed city of Jerusalem as Israel's capital earlier today, a historic decision that overturns decades of U.S. policy and risks triggering a fresh spasm of violence in the Middle East. Israel is a sovereign nation with the right, like every other sovereign nation, to determine its own capital, the U.S. leader declared from the White House. Acknowledging this as a fact is a necessary condition for achieving peace. It is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, Trump said, urging calm and the voices of tolerance to prevail over the purveyors of hate. The declaration met by fierce regional condemnation and 7 decades of deliberate diplomatic ambiguity about the final status of a holy city, vociferously claimed by both Israelis and Palestinians. Although welcomed by Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as a courageous and just decision, Trump's move also left the already faltering peace process in deep doubt. Mahmoud Abbas' Palestine Liberation Organization said Trump has destroyed the two-state solution, warning the United States could no longer hope to be a peace broker, while Hamas, the Palestinian Islamist movement that runs the Gaza Strip, said Trump's decision opens the gates of hell on U.S. interests in the region. Making the announcement, Trump also kicked off the process of moving the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. That makes good on a campaign promised here to evangelical Christian and right-wing Jewish voters as well as donors. In what he said marked the start of a new approach to solving the thorny Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Trump's predecessors from Bill Clinton to George Bush made similar campaign promises. But they quickly reneged upon taking office and assuming the burden of war and peace. Having taken office with no foreign policy experience and denouncing experts, Trump was determined to show his arrival in Washington spells the end of business as usual. Many presidents have said they want to do something, and they didn't do it, Trump said in the run-up to his historic address. Whether it's courage or they changed their mind, I can't tell you, he said. I think it's long overdue. The announcement leaves many angry U.S. allies and leaders across the Middle East trying to find a measured response and hoping that the tinderbox region is not destined for yet another round of bloodshed. the leaders of Muslim nations deployed ever harsher rhetoric to describe Trump's decision, dashing any hope of a muted response that would help avoid clashes. In a frantic series of calls, the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, the European Union, France, Germany, and Turkey had warned Trump against the move. "I cannot silence my deep concern over the situation that has emerged in recent days," the pontiff said Wednesday. Moving the U.S. embassy will probably take years to implement, but the repercussions of Trump's decision preceded even his announcement. Hundreds of Palestinians burned U.S. and Israeli flags as well as pictures of Trump in the Gaza Strip, while relatively small clashes erupted near the flashpoint West Bank city of Hebron. Palestinians called for 3 days of protests or days of rage starting Wednesday. U.S. government officials and their families were ordered to avoid Jerusalem's Old City and the West Bank, though the situation remained largely calm up until Trump's address. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called for a summit of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC), the main pan-Islamic body, in Istanbul next week, to display joint action over Jerusalem. Jordan and the Palestinians also called for an emergency meeting of the Arab League. Most of the international community does not formally recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, insisting the issue can only be resolved in negotiations, a point reiterated by UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres in the wake of Trump's decision. Guterres implicitly criticized Trump, stressing his opposition to any unilateral measures that would jeopardize the prospect of peace. But Trump insisted the move did not prejudge final talks, saying it simply reflected the reality that West Jerusalem is and will continue to be part of Israel under any settlement. Trump further stated that the United States was not taking a position on any final status issues, including the specific boundaries of the Israeli sovereignty in Jerusalem, or the resolution of contested borders. Those questions are up to the parties involved. Israel seized the largely Arab eastern sector of Jerusalem during the 1967 Six-Day War and later annexed it, claiming both sides of the city as its capital. A waiver has been invoked by successive U.S. presidents, postponing the move on grounds of national security once every 6 months, meaning the law has never taken effect. several peace plans have unraveled in the past decades over the issue of how to divide sovereignty or oversee holy sites in Jerusalem.